creative people out there, welcome back. Today we're building Polyphemus or Polyphem, the Cyclops from Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, completely from scratch. We're sculpting, printing and painting him together and creating an heroic statue. Hi, I'm Ben, digital character artist, and today we're tackling a character from the film I just mentioned, which hit the theaters on July 17th, 2026. A week ago I saw the movie in Germany and I was blown away by Polyphemus that I just had to add him in my collection. So to be clear, this isn't a sponsored video, it's pure fan art. As always in my creative process, I don't use any AI and I create everything myself. No pre-made libraries, 100% handcraft. Everyone knows that wouldn't go completely without its problems, but see yourself. For my references, I used movie posters and film clips. It was super tough because the movie is still in theaters, so getting reference shots from all angles was out of the question. But I love a challenge, so I started with just 2 images. Looking back, that was way too little to work with. I also wanted to put his name on a large plaque, creating a monument dedicated to the son of Poseidon. I just love huge monuments and tombstones. Maybe that's a leftover habit from my former job as an undertaker. Even though Polyphemus doesn't die, this figure serves as a memorial against violence, something we definitely need less on this planet. The mood board is set, so sit back, relax, and dive into the world of Polyphemus, the Cyclops from The Odyssey 2026. Let's go. As always, I sculpted everything by hand in Blender using my references as a guide. Since I only had 2 images to work with, I was really curious to see how well I could nail the proportions. Even though Polyphemus is the son of the sea god Poseidon, classical stone sculptures usually depict him with human-like features. And that's how Christopher Nolan portrayed him in the film too. Because of that, I was able to use human anatomy as a foundation. If you look at his face, it seems twisted, but in my opinion that's just the skin. The underlying bone landmarks are still human, which helped fill the gaps where references were missing. In both the movie and the original myth, the monster Polyphemus is a shepherd. Doesn't sound so terrifying at first, right? Yet he devours men from Odysseus' crew. But hey, maybe that's just because they snuck in and helped themselves to his belongings. Even in the film, he doesn't come across as purely aggressive, so I didn't want to portray him as just a mindless monster. I asked myself, who is behind the beast? Maybe a decent guy deep down. Being a shepherd actually sounds pretty friendly at first. I've always perceived Polyphemus as a force of nature. That's why it was important to me to show him in direct contact with the stone. I wanted him to stand neutral watching over his sheep, monumental and impossibly huge. When it came to the sheep, I knew they'd end up tiny and a lot of details wouldn't be visible. Still, I put an insane amount of effort into them just to elevate the overall piece. So I kept sculpting away, keeping a close eye on my references, until suddenly I noticed something terrifying. Every single reference I had was AI modified. I realized it because of the eyes, they weren't consistent across the different pictures. At first I thought, okay, maybe there's an early concept version used for posters, but looking closer, I realized that despite my trained eye, I had been completely fooled. Even the movie posters were AI generated and didn't officially exist. You're probably thinking, so what? But in that moment I was like, no! No. I had to redo every single detail. The eye area was wrong, the mouth, the nose. Since that was all I had found, how I was supposed to get real references. After doing some digging, I stumbled upon a behind-the-scenes making-of video. For just a brief second you can catch a glimpse of Polyphem. I took that simple frame and extracted everything I could out of it. Brightening it, darkening it, pushing my photo editing software to the limit. That whole mess cost me an entire day. AI can be so annoying. Has something like this ever happened to you? Let me know down in the comments. When you look at his face now, you can really see how distorted it is. I think the concept artist came up with something truly incredible. He looks neutral, a bit goofy, but somehow endearing too. Honestly, if Odysseus hadn't provoked him so much, they probably could have just talked it out, right? I actually felt really bad for him. Despite all the setbacks, after 3 days, the sculpt was finished. This time I had to put my printer in the living room because I had other prints running upstairs for a client order. I always look forward to the fresh prints because only then I can see exactly whether my anatomy and the whole concept work out. I was so glad to be in the flow. I always find it a great feeling when everything just clicks. After 8 hours of print time and a duplicate print run, Polyphemus was finally ready to be painted. Looking closer at the AI modified image again, I have to admit I really loved Polyphemus' skin tone. My goal was to recreate that as closely as possible. First though, I had to handle the stone base. Painting every single crack and corner by hand would have been an absolute nightmare, so I opted for a rubber technique using a custom alcohol wash. I mixed rubbing alcohol with black acrylic ink and applied it liberally. Then whip it back with pure alcohol and a cloth. I used this exact same technique on my Sekira build. So if you're into tabletop miniatures, you definitely don't want to miss that video. And just like that, the grey primed stone starting looking like real rock. I love these transformations, just a bit of paint and the whole vibe changes instantly. For the body, I started with the darkest shade as usual and gradually layered my way up to Polyphemus' actual skin tone. Using my dry brush, I added some marble white lightnings to give the entire sculpt a richer texture. I refined the sheep with titanium white and added a touch of green moss and grass to the stone. After all, if sheep are roaming around, they need something to eat, right? For the eyes, I actually used simple Stabilo fineliners. They are water soluble on smooth surfaces, which makes them perfect for smudging out the pupil nicely. Polyphemus or Polyphem is finished and ready to watch over his flock. What an awesome project! I'm genuinely thrilled with how he turned out and so proud to have finished this piece. And the movie is a massive recommendation. Go to the cinema and watch this classic tale reimagined. It's so worth it. And if you can, definitely watch it in IMAX. Next up, I'll be working on another original creation. If you don't want to miss out, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You can also follow the creation process live over on my Instagram stories for exclusive sneak peeks of upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching. Stay creative and yeah, don't be afraid to take on massive projects like this. See you in 2 weeks for my next creative adventure. Tackling a character which hit the theaters, which next up I'll be working on an original blah blah. Stay creative and yeah, don't be